In an earlier video, we looked at renaming columns and renaming queries. And really, best practice when it comes to naming tables, columns, etc., is there are no fixed rules, but we really would recommend that you use a language and abbreviations that are commonly known and used within your organization and that everybody agrees is common terminology. Don't use unusual names that people just are not familiar with. In fact, best practice is that we use business terms with spaces and not underscores, and that we be consistent with our abbreviations and our prefixes, etc. So don't use excessively short abbreviations because they can cause confusion, but also don't use excessively long names either. When replacing the values, try to imagine how those values will look if you're creating a pivot table. You don't want them to be too short and unrecognizable, and you don't want them to be too long and difficult to read. So be very careful with naming your tables and columns. I would like to have a look at actually renaming some of the columns that we have in some of our queries. For example, I would like to go to the sales 2019 to 2021 query, and in there you'll find that there's a column, if I scroll to the right, called country/region or country region. I'm just going to click on the column heading, press the function key F2, and just rename that country. I don't think that country region is necessary. Now, if I go to the customers query, there's a few columns I want to rename in there. For example, customer ID, I just want to call that ID. So I'll press F2 and I'll just call it ID. Company name, I'm going to press F2 and choose the company. Contact name, click it, press F2, just call it contact. If I then go to contact title, press F2, just call that title. And last one is postcode. So as I scroll to the right, I can see there's a column called postal code. I'll click it, press F2, and just call it postcode with a space in between. I now want to apply those changes to my Power BI, so I click the drop down on the close and apply button, and I hit the apply option. I also want to save, once it's finished loading, my Power BI file, so I hit the save button. You can also press Ctrl S and that will also save your model Power BI file.